It's the Redirect Podcast. Search industry research, discussion, and analysis from the Black Truck Media and Marketing Headquarters. And now, redirecting you to the Black Truck team.
Welcome to episode 21 of the Redirect Podcast. It's Friday, October 27th, 2017. I'm Jason Dodge, founder of Black Truck Media and Marketing. Welcome once again by Patrick and Ashley from the Black Truck team. Welcome, y'all, to the end of the week. Good news on this end. We launched our website, officially to the public, took the curtain off, and woohoo! So that's been a long time coming. I don't know how long we've been working on that for, but
it's hard to work on your own things when you're working on 20 other people's things.
Right. Yep. So good and bad of that, right? So, but we're very pleased with it. Very, very happy with how it turned out, and I think the message that it presents to everyone about the company and who we are as a growing team. So, yeah, good stuff here. Does anyone want to take lead off at all? I feel like there's a lot going on in the search space. Last episode we talked about, in episode 20, we dedicated that to celebrating 20 episodes, as well as kind of more or less how to start a podcast and things you need to know and things you want to be comfortable with and whatnot. And now we're going to get back more into the meat of the discussion, search related. So, anybody?
Well, my input this week doesn't have as much to do with the rumblings of what's going on in the search world, but it is about Cornerstone content.
Cornerstone content?
Yes.
Is this different than evergreen content?
It's similar to evergreen content.
Is this the hipster way of saying evergreen content?
I don't know about that. It's something that I had been reading about before, and I found an article from WordStream this week on, it's called 7-Step Guide to Creating Cornerstone Content.
Cornerstone content. I'm still having a hard time with this. I think we should create a brand called Evergreen and Cornerstone. And we could be like this. We could sell hats.
Sure. Well,
he's writing it down right now.
So, Cornerstone, it is a real thing, Jason.
Okay, so define it. Define it for us.
So, think about foundational,
okay.
Right? So the cornerstone of a building is, that kind of helps to set the foundation for the building, or helps you build the building off of the cornerstone, right? So cornerstone content is something that really speaks about your brand, your business, your product, what you do and who you are. Or it might be a tool. It's really top of funnel. It's more about creating awareness and bringing in traffic, getting people interested.
Like service pages? If we would say our core search engine optimization page versus obviously blog posts and things like that. I mean, are we talking more like that?
Yeah, along those lines, but even something that it might be a tool, like we've talked about cost calculators, that sort of thing. So it might end up being kind of even a long form piece of content as well. So the purpose is to establish authority in your industry and to bring in traffic. Again, it raises your brand awareness. You might build some natural links if you're, providing value to people and they're linking back to your site. And then it feeds your funnel. So you might end up building an email list because of it, for example. So anyway, this article from WordStream, a couple tips that I gleaned from there. If you're going to offer something like this, a lot of places will put this kind of content behind a paywall, which is just not going to serve the purpose in a lot of ways. I mean, I know this is very anecdotal, but for me, if I stumble upon something that I think is going to be super helpful, but I am super top of funnel, I'm not considering purchase, I'm just doing research. I'm not going to give you my information just to find that. I'll go find it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So why not be that person that's going to offer that information to people, and then they're going to think more highly of you because you gave it to them for free, So, no paywalls. And don't expect high conversions from this piece. The goal is to create a good first impression so that when the consumer wants to make a decision, they'll remember you and come back to you because you made that impression.
So it's not necessarily content that is that an individual would be. They don't have any knowledge of your brand is where I'm going with it,
yep,
right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's the foundational problem that your company is solving.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, for sure. Yeah. So examples that she gave were Maz's Beginner's Guide to SEO, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then another great example was a beauty brand that has an ingredient dictionary that breaks down all the freaky chemical names in beauty products. You know, that's something that's really helpful to people. They might be wondering, what the heck is this ingredient that I'm putting on my skin? And then, you know, they break it down. I thought that's a really interesting way of going about it, because you're not outright selling your product. You're providing value by explaining these complicated concepts to visitors. So
that would apply to a number of different industries too, really,
for sure,
if you went that route.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that the takeaway from this, I mean, this article did break down, you know, the 7 steps from choosing your topic all the way through to like optimizing and promoting and maintaining. But I think the main takeaway from this is, if you don't have Cornerstone content, think about what that could be and take steps to get it out there. I think that it, you know, has a lot of value, and it's something that will keep feeding, you know, your traffic over time, especially, well, not just especially, just even if it has value, it needs to have value of some sort, or it's not going to do the job. And then if you do have Cornerstone content, make sure you have a system in place for regular promotion and regular maintenance, like keeping it up to date. If it's a tool like a cost calculator, can you find ways to improve it, either from a user experience or just, you know, visuals or adding features to it, that sort of thing.
Seasonality,
seasonality,
like that,
for sure. So yeah, I thought it was a very useful.
Being Black Truck's content specialist, do you think there's a couple ways that people can maybe identify with what we might deem as Cornerstone content? I mean, what do you think? Obviously, we talked about like Maz's Beginner's Guide to SEO, or any kind of like cost calculator or something like that. But how would you? I'm totally throwing you into the Shark Tank, but like, how would you even go about identifying that? Would you go analytics data, strip out blog posts? Like, what would you?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think you kind of just answered that. Analytics, for sure. If you're looking for something that already exists that could serve as Cornerstone content, you know, I think my thought on that is, if you didn't purposely create something to be that like evergreen Cornerstone content, then it's probably not serving that purpose 100%. So yeah, look through your analytics and find what is solving problems for your visitors, like Patrick mentioned, and then find ways to improve that and build it up as your Cornerstone content. I think I read an article from Yoast a while back on that very topic. So
that's really good. I mean, really, I think there's a lot of really great points there. Check, you know, we'll put that in the show notes too. So if you're listening, we document like all of this and provide links to these helpful tips and pull out the top action items. So I think that's really great. That's good find.
Thanks.
Pat, I'm going next because the 2 things I at least have on my radar are from a source you like to think about all the time. But the big thing, I like to follow what happens at the various conferences and follow the chatter in the social space whenever those are going on. And a lot of discussion was coming out of, I think it was SMX East that was going on this week. The big discussion around actually the whole mobile first indexing. And you know, everybody's on pins and needles. Is this going to roll out? When's it going to roll out? And there's a number of what we'll call prolific industry folks that I like to talk to about this stuff and watch the chatter. And you see, you know, Google's Gary Illyes on Wednesday at SMX East confirmed that there's a few sites that are live and working in the mobile first indexing. So it's rolling out. and the rollout is never going to stop rolling out, meaning like the mobile first index is going to be live for a few sites right now, but it's never going to stop rolling out. Like it's just going to keep rolling out.
There's a lot of sites out there.
Yeah. But it's not, the rollout is going to be from at a host level or a domain level. It's not going to be a page by page level, right? So like a page isn't going to be indexed in the mobile index. Like the whole domain is either going to be in the mobile index or not. Right. So if you don't have a mobile friendly version of the site, or even if it's an M dot or something like that, like your desktop site is going to be included in the mobile index. Now, is it going to rank as well, and is it going to provide the best user experience? No, but that's going to be what's included in that index. That information, kind of clarification, comes from Barry Schwartz, known as Rusty Brick on Twitter. So that's kind of a good thing to kind of keep in radar. And I'm anxious just because I always love when changes happen. I like to see people freak out. And I'm more of a let's be prepared, but at the same time we need to see where things are headed. So there's definitely some things moving around in search algorithms. But the big thing that I really big piece that I want to talk about is that, in addition to kind of two things that play really well together, and that's, do we remove old content and archive news stories, so blog posts, and what about changing dates on articles, and what kind of issues can that bring up? And so both of these are stemmed from SMX East, as well as posts that Jennifer Slegg did on the SEM posts. So a couple of really great articles that she was able to more or less corner individuals at Google on. And the one is actually from the state of search. So the potential spam issues of changing article dates, as well as do not remove older content archive news stories. So let's start with that one. That's also a discussion point from the state of search that was in Dallas this month. It was asked of Google's Gary Illies of, is there a benefit to removing content, content that goes into an archive or something like that? And in kind of our past and our experience, I don't think there's been a case where we've intentionally removed content ever. And so it's when I read this headline, I immediately latched onto it. I'm like, why the hell would you? What? Why would you do that? Archival is one thing to maybe not muck up and bloat a site from a user experience perspective. But if that content, the notion is if that content is driving traffic, and you're going to be able to see that at the analytics data, at page level data, to say, I'm going to look at a post. It's generating content. Where's that traffic coming from? Should I get rid of it or should I not? I mean, there's pretty clear indications as to whether or not, as a site administrator or as a digital marketer, you want to get rid of content. And sometimes it's just nice to have historical data there, like good, bad, and different, especially if you're a news-based site or blog or something like that. Like, if you published it, in this case they're referencing 01 or it's something about 9/11, like you don't want to delete that content necessarily. Like as morbid or as unfortunate of a topic as that is, like that's historical data, you don't want to get rid of that. So the gist of this is that yes, your site is going to expect traffic losses, right? Like traffic is going to decrease because you did away with those pieces of content. Even if you 301 redirect them and did all the proper things, like you did away with those pieces of content. What if you had Wikipedia links built off of that, or other people were citing that? To go back through and manually try and update that is kind of a pain. But bottom line is, don't remove the content for the simple fact that it's old, right? I mean, if anything, historical content's gonna potentially help you, and you can always reference back to it and things like that. But then let's segue into the next one, which is, should we be updating basically the published date of a blog post? And that was totally a tactic that was used, and I think still gets used by SEOs now, of man, we've got this piece of content. Let's just update the date, right? The publish date.
That's it. Let's just update the date.
Yes, correct. And
to make it look fresh. Yeah. Exactly.
And instead of updating it with maybe new content, so I'd love to definitely have a conversation about that one. I think we're all on the same page about not removing old content from a site, but the fact of how do you go about the process of updating content? So you have a piece of content. Is it Cornerstone? Is it evergreen? And maybe it's an evergreen piece that's getting updated because it's best of 2017, best of 2018, or it's, the top, in Michigan, maybe it's the top craft breweries of the year, and that's just updated. You leave the original published date alone, but you might have that kind of best practices snippet at the top that says this has been updated as of, October 2017. But just would love to get you guys' take on that too.
I've seen some pretty shady attempts at changing dates. I remember one time, was probably when that flavor of the week kind of started the big trends of let's just update content and change the date on it and it'll get re-indexed. That conversation. You shared an article with me unrelated to this. I was like, oh yeah, I remember reading this a long time ago. And then I noticed that the article date was recent. And further at the bottom of the article, I noticed there is some data in it that was proved inaccurate. And I got thinking about it, and I remember where I found it and where it was in fact an old article that had been just updated with basically it was a long list of items, and one point had been updated. So they changed the date, republished it, and it was supposed to be this new thing. And I think it did get indexed. That's probably how you found it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of a really poor reflection on that tactic.
Well, we've even heard people like Will Reynolds at Sierra talk about how they've done user testing and stuff and see that people don't necessarily click on that based on the newest, most recent, freshest article, what that date is, what the published date is that Google's indexing. That's probably we're gonna go down this path of talking about page titles and optimizing, meta descriptions for click-through rates, but if
as far as a signal back, this is in the result to regard to a signal back to Google. Is that new data signal to Google that they should index it?
Yep. And what Illy's is saying from Google is that from their perspective, from core rankings, that definitely this could potentially hurt you because what he's saying is Google's not going to believe your dates anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have to, right? I mean, with the advances in machine learning and probably as quickly as that's moving forward, again, does your date really matter if it helps the user and provides the best experience? No, the date doesn't matter.
Yeah, if you get down to the meat of it, you're manipulating a date. If you're manipulating a date, you're manipulating a system. And we're working to create a human-like web experience, and anytime there's a manipulation, you can see right through it.
So it seems to me that the more newsy, the more news-related content, that's okay, but you're not going to go in and if those are current events, you're not going to go in and manipulate that. You shouldn't be manipulating that date anyways, right? So those dates are going to be important, date bylines and search results. Those are going to be helpful as it relates to the relevancy of the search result or not. But if you were a general blogger or something like that and wasn't current events, I mean, what? Like you said, Ashley, just updating the date to update the date to make it look fresh. Google's saying, nope.
So then how does that relate to if you have, say, an old blog post that has it might be a how to do this, and the information has changed, and you want to provide updated information, and you want people to see that updated information.
From a best practices perspective, I think that's a really good question because that's that I feel like you're on this fine line of is it the date, is it not? And the big one is some publishers, they'll include the original published date, they'll leave it as is, but then add additional updates above or below, and that seems to be the general push.
Right.
The general direction is that even if this article was written, say at this point last year, you put that little disclaimer like this has been updated as of October 2017 type of thing. So maybe you do have that piece of evergreen content or even your Cornerstone content that tells the user that this is updated. Now, certainly some types of content are not. Dates are not important as others. So, but certainly something to keep an eye on if you're using that tactic just to kind of update dates from an SEO's perspective. That's not going to get you anywhere.
And at the same time, too, if you have 4 pages from 4 competing sites that'll have similar data, and they're all from, let's say, 2014, when they're originally published or the page was created, but there's a signal on the back end being sent back to Google that says, hey, this page just was refreshed and optimized within the last 90 days. This site might have a little bit more clout to it, so we'll put this one ahead. Yeah. So it
doesn't
there.
mean the original published date is changed, is
right.
what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
The published date might not be relevant, but the content that's getting updated can be seen as the relevant. So it's the win without manipulation.
Yeah. That's good. A lot of content talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Along that same conference that you referenced, SMX East, there's a presentation about manual penalties from Google. And penalties is something I always talk about here in the office in the form of duplicate content.
So that's Google. So when we talk about a manual penalty, that's a manual action from Google saying that is not a machine. That's Google's search quality team saying no.
Yeah. So I always talk about duplicate content, and that's done on an algorithmic approach. It's automated. They see it and they can just hit the switch and go, and it's not seen by a person. These are the ones where they're basically their QC team, their quality control team will go through and check out stuff. And I don't know how they pick a site. I don't know how they pick a page, and or if it's they've got people on the street getting tips like, hey, go check out these guys. You should check them for quality. But it all goes back to Search Console. Check with your Search Console consistently when you think maybe there could be something going on, or you're in the process of trying to improve your site. They'll send your signal there. If you're getting a penalty, that's where you go to find out. They don't know your email, they don't know your inbox.
Yeah.
They're not going to say, hey,
Google's not going to email you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you the biggest spam tactic or phishing tactic that's out there. I mean, come on, Google is not going to do that.
So we have several different things to review when we're looking at what we could be getting signals from, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. The mailman just
We're going to
came in
blame the mailman.
office.
This is live, no edits.
Yeah,
We should have had him join us.
We gave him the shush finger, but he had crinkly mail for us. So things to look for that aren't necessarily on your site is unnatural links back to your website, user-generated content spam. If you have a site that gets a lot of comments and posts or whatnot, you can get a lot of commenting spam in there, and that could be sent back to a signal. If somebody sees like that, if you're not taking the time to delete the spam comment that's coming into your site, and I'm a reviewer coming back and looking, and I see all this willy-nilly commenting going on, then obviously the site is not benefiting, and it's not getting the attention it should be, and you might see that way.
I hate to say it, but affiliate marketers come to mind when we talk about that. You're running a site and you're just banging out content. It's like it's reviews of product and that type of thing. It's just open yourself up for comment spam.
Right. Affiliate links, that was one of the things on their list. Another thing is poor quality widgets, coupon codes, really bad anchor text, links to international sources, directories. that was something I thought was like, ooh, I kind of cringed at, because in as a previous life SEO, I focused in the directory world back when the flavor of the month was get on directories, you know, and now if your site is listed in a bunch of directories like that,
you gotta watch them.
Yeah, you got to be careful and remove yourself on those. And
we're not talking your local Chamber of Commerce directory.
Right.
We're talking spammy directories.
Yeah, back in the days when Google said no, DMOZ is good, and you look at DMOZ like, who in the world is using this?
Yeah.
And then this is the world of directories that made DMOZ look good. So a lot of that is out there, and it's stuff that you got to pay attention to. And if maybe you inherited a site that used to have this, or you are in SEO at an agency that has inherited a new client that has a history, or maybe they used to have a previous agency that was doing things a little unscrupulous, or played in that game in the late 2010s or 20-teens, in that area when things were just really kind of starting to throw different
Shift
stuff at
around,
the wall and seeing what would work. So it's all stuff that regularly should be reviewed.
That's really great. And were there any tips on what to do if you are affected by a manual penalty? Was there anything in there?
It said start the process of removing it.
Yeah.
It says go take them case by case.
Yeah.
And it's all going to stem through Search Console.
Yep.
And
So you have to take action through Search Console.
Yes.
I think is the thing to
Yeah,
remember and learn at the end of the day.
That's a gateway.
Yeah. So step one, make sure you have Search Console set up.
Right.
Monitor it. Step two, if that does happen, unfortunately, you need to take action through Search Console.
Definitely.
And since they're updating that more regularly in what we might call a live environment, that'll be great. Plus, some Search Console changes are going to come too. That was another thing that I was kind of researching a little bit this week too, that maybe we'll talk about in the next episode.
Search Console is a really effective, powerful tool, and I don't think enough people utilize it.
No, I think if you were an SEO or even a deep, we'll say like a deep geek digital marketer, you will. But I think the general marketer practitioner will not, just because it can be a little cumbersome. So if you don't know, how to maximize it. But no, really great pieces. So good content shared by everyone. And please do, for those of you listening, check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com, as well as subscribing to our podcast through Stitcher and iTunes. Until next time, good luck, and we'll talk to you then.
This has been the Redirect Podcast. Check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com and add us on iTunes and Stitcher.